If you're a trumpet player, or you live with one, you'll know that there's a problem that must be dealt with. And it could be that this is the answer to your prayer. If you're new here, my name is Chase Sanborn and I'm a jazz trumpet player based in Toronto. In this video, I was trying to put together a personal monitoring system that would allow me to hear myself if I'm drowned out by other instruments on a gig or in a rehearsal. But what about the opposite situation, where I'm not worried about hearing myself, but more worried about other people hearing me? So this is something that I've been thinking about lately because I'm contemplating downsizing to a condo or an apartment in the next few years. In the basement of this house, I'm able to practice whenever I want. Having neighbors on the other side of a wall or a ceiling would certainly put a crimp in that ability, and I'm wrestling with that future reality. Amidst these thoughts, the SoundCatcher came to my attention. This is a device that purports to reduce the volume of a trumpet by 85% without the problems that come with using practice mutes. I reached out to the designer and the manufacturer, a trumpet player named Justin Smith, and he offered to send me one for review. Aside from receiving the product, I'm not paid for this review, and I'm free to share my honest opinions. Opening the box, my first impression was that the construction is impressive. All the more so when I learned that Justin is manufacturing and assembling these by hand in Austin, Texas, with the use of what I assume is a fairly substantial 3D printer. The hard-shell tube is about 12 inches in length and 12 inches in diameter. It's lined with acoustic foam like what you'd see in an isolation booth. The tube is open at one end with a rim that attaches magnetically. The rim has a cutout for the bell, and you can get them with different size cutouts. I requested one sized for trumpet and another sized for flugelhorn, and I'll talk more about the rims as we go. The other end is sealed with a double-ended XLR that connects a microphone on the inside to a cable on the outside. The tube mounts on the included tripod using a standard quick-release camera mount. Well, this is a clever idea that makes it quick to attach or remove, and it's easy to adjust the height and the angle to match your playing position. You can order SoundCatcher in 3 different configurations. The light version includes the SoundCatcher and the tripod. The Pro version, which was sent to me, adds a microphone, a mixer, a clamp-on tray, XLR cable, and a pair of earbuds. The Studio version replaces the mixer with a Focusrite interface and the earbuds with a pair of full-sized headphones. I'll talk more about the 3 configurations at the end. The big question is, does it work? And secondarily, does it seem like something that I would actually use? Well, spoiler alert, yes and yes, but I want you to hear for yourself in a series of demos. Before I do that, I'll make my usual pitch that there is no paid content on this channel. The videos I post about brass playing and jazz and other aspects of making music for fun or profit are supported by book sales and other products like GRCS mouthpieces, and also by folks who come to me for online lessons. You can find out more at chasesanborn.com. Now, back to the SoundCatcher. First, I'll let you hear the acoustic difference in the room with the horn in and out of the tube, and I'll play pretty loud to put it to the test. So we can hear that that's a pretty big difference. The meters on my editing program indicate that it's a drop of about 25 decibels, and that's roughly in line with what's posted on the SoundCatcher website, that the sound is reduced to 15% of the original volume. The tone quality is muffled as you'd expect, although less so than with a typical practice mute. Significantly, though, because there's no mute inserted in the bell, it doesn't increase the blow resistance or mess with the intonation. And that's especially evident in the high and the low registers, where practice mutes typically don't respond very well. These were the primary design goals, so I have to say that SoundCatcher succeeds beautifully on that score. Because I film in a pretty tight space, it might appear on camera as if I'm still pointing at the SoundCatcher when I'm outside of it. But in fact, I'm playing off to the side, towards the room mic, which is positioned next to and just behind the tube. So the microphone is in close proximity to the SoundCatcher, and you're hearing what it would sound like if you were standing just in front of me. And that's something I never recommend with a trumpet player. In the demo you just heard, I used the rim with a cutout for a trumpet bell, which is 6 inches in diameter. That provides the maximum amount of isolation, but you have to be pretty careful when you take it in or out. A couple of times my bell caught the edge of the rim and actually pulled it right off the magnetic mounts. But I guess that's better than dinging the bell or pulling the whole SoundCatcher over. The rim with the larger cutout is 6.5 inches, so it's not much bigger, but that extra half inch gives you a little bit more leeway. I wouldn't expect it to have a major difference on the sound, but let's give it a listen. As I expected, the volume is nearly the same with the larger rim, so I'd be inclined to use that one, and you can get others with even bigger diameters. I wondered, though, what it would be like if you used no rim at all. That gives you a large opening lined with foam so there's nothing to catch on or ding your bell. With no rim, there is a small increase in volume, but it looks to me like it's still about 20 decibels softer, and that seems like it'd be as quiet as you need it to be in most situations. Plus, the tone quality is just a little bit less muffled, and it's a lot easier to put the horn in and out, which you would do a lot during a practice session. So I think that this is the way that I'd be inclined to use it, and I'll leave the rim off for the rest of the demos. That way you can assume that what you hear will be the minimum amount of sound reduction that you can expect. With no impact on the blow resistance or the intonation, the SoundCatcher is far superior to using a practice mute. But the muffled sound that comes from playing in a tube filled with foam does have an impact on the way your chops feel and respond, and that's where the electronics factor in. Because the microphone attaches to an XLR inside the tube, it has to be pretty short so that you don't hit it with your bell. It also has to be pretty light because a microphone isn't designed to be supported by the cable connection. At 3.5 inches, the Behringer's C2 microphone that comes with the Pro and Studio packages is the right size. And Behringer is pretty good when it comes to the quality versus cost ratio. Although the C2 is only a $50 microphone, it's a good choice for this application, and all the more so because it has a 10 dB pad switch, which is helpful because the bell is so close to it. The mixer that comes with the Pro package is a generic one. It works fine in terms of sending the sound from the mic to a pair of headphones, and I can run it off a portable sound bank so that I don't have to have an AC connection. With a low-priced mixer like that, you're not going to get things like onboard effects, so I swapped it out for a Mackie Pro FX6. The Mackie is only a little bit bigger, it has better quality preamps, and it lets me add a bit of reverb to the sound, which makes it more comfortable to play. The Pro package comes with a basic set of earbuds, but I'll use my favorite Grado SR60 headphones. I talk about these and other headphones in this video, which I referenced in the beginning. So here's the difference between the sound in the room as picked up by my Royer ribbon microphone and the sound picked up from the inside of the tube by the Behringer and fed into the Mackie with just a light touch of reverb. Now let's hear what it sounds like with a Harman mute. Given that the mute reduces the volume to begin with, my guess is that it would be almost inaudible from a distance. As I thought, with the Harman inside the SoundCatcher, we're down another 6 to 8 decibels compared to the open horn. Also, because the sound of a Harman is best captured with the microphone very close, this is an almost ideal situation for it. With a mixer, we have the capability of playing with backing tracks, so I'll do that for the last demo. And I can imagine enjoying late-night practice sessions like this. I'm going to use a track from Volume 6 of the QUARTET PLAYALONG app, which fortuitously came out just as I was about to film these demos. I love this app, and if you haven't seen my review, I'll link it in the description. Now it's time for some final thoughts. It's probably obvious by now that I'm impressed by SoundCatcher, even more than I thought I might be. Initially, it seemed like having to stick my trumpet into a tube would feel restrictive, compared to simply having a mute in the bell of the horn. Now that's true, but to achieve this level of sound reduction would require a dedicated practice mute, and there are real downsides to using them on an ongoing basis. Even with something like the Yamaha Silent Brass, which uses headphones and electronic manipulation to somewhat alleviate the muffled sound, you've still got back pressure and intonation and response issues. While nothing can substitute for hearing the horn acoustically, I think practicing with the SoundCatcher would have much less of a deleterious effect on your chops than playing for extended periods with a practice mute. Of course, in no way could the SoundCatcher be considered portable. It's made for someone who resides where the sound of a trumpet is going to be an issue. I'm picturing, for example, a music student who has to go to a practice room. When I was a student at Berkeley, I always envied my guitar-playing roommate who could just put on headphones and practice whenever he wanted. Actually, I'd have to put on my own headphones to block out the chunk of his strings. Now, I should mention that since YouTube always knows what I'm checking out, while I was working on this review, some videos came up in my feed demonstrating a very similar product called the Mute Tube. It appears to be made in Germany, and the website is active, but it's not listed for sale. I did see one Reddit post from a year ago from a person who said they paid $740 to have it shipped to the US. So now to the question of which version of SoundCatcher offers the best value or is the best one for you. The light version, which comes with just the tripod, is currently on sale for $295 US. The Pro package adds the microphone, the mixing board, the tray, the cables, and the earbuds for $90 more, or $385. That seems like good value, unless you want to upgrade the mixer like I did. If you were to buy the Mackie and the C2 microphone, which as far as I can tell is only sold in pairs, plus the accessories, you'd be up to around $600. For $600, you can also get the Studio package, which swaps out the mixer for a Focusrite Solo interface and full-size headphones. That's intended for people who want to use the SoundCatcher for serious recording. That could be an interesting option for someone who does, say, remote overdubs, although you'd likely want to find a way to use a better microphone for that. If there was a second XLR at the top of the tube, that would open up some other possibilities for mics that have a pickup on the side, maybe something like an AKG. Even with a high-quality mic and interface, you may still have some artifacts in the sound that come from playing in such a confined space, although that would be less of an issue with the Harman mute. So I don't know how practical it would be to use it as a professional recording studio. If there's anyone out there who's used it in that context, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. I think if it were up to me, I would just offer one version of SoundCatcher that comes with the C2 microphone and leave the rest up to the individual. In any case, the setup as I've got it now is perfect for my application. Whereas I've been thinking that the only way that I could continue playing the trumpet in an apartment would be to soundproof a room, the SoundCatcher potentially offers a simple and cost-effective alternative. Admittedly, it might look a little funny to see me making videos or teaching online with my horn stuck inside the SoundCatcher. Let me know what you think about that. Anyway, I'm going to keep using it for a while and see how it feels over a longer period of time. I want to say thanks to Justin for letting me check it out and for the innovative and entrepreneurial spirit that has made this option available for brass players. In just a moment, you'll see another video at the top of the screen that you'll probably enjoy. But before you go there, please take a second to click the like button and let me know in the comments if SoundCatcher seems like it might be the answer to your trumpeter's prayer.